eyes in the sky, gazing far into the night. I raise my hand.
Hello, everyone. This is episode 2 of the National Fantasy League podcast. It is September 3rd, Monday, as of recording this. We have upgraded here. Instead of Blake, we now have Jake sitting in. Hello, Jake.
How's it going, guys?
And I am your assistant to the commissioner, Kyle Fisher, and we also have Matt with us again.
What's up, everybody?
So, on this episode, we wanted to kind of recap the draft, talk about what picks we like, what picks we didn't like, who we thought drafted the best team, the worst team, kind of go through them, maybe give like a power rankings, and start looking at week 1 matchups and predictions. So let's roll into the draft steals. Who had the best picks? Matt, you want to lead it off?
Yeah, so what I thought was the biggest steal of the draft, this totally shocked me that this guy fell this far. Kenyon Drake at pick 50 to Kyle is easily gonna really win. That was crazy.
Name in progress.
I don't know. I have never in all of my mock drafts seen Kenyon Drake go that low. I mean, I've seen him drop to 4th round. I've never seen him go all the way to the 5th round.
Well,
that was crazy.
I'm not going to argue with you. I think I was pretty genius there in getting him also. I'd never seen him there. I was happy to reach on somebody later, like I was thinking like somebody in the Lamar Miller or even lower kind of tier. Typically when I did mock, so I was super excited to see him there. So, anyway, my favorite steal of the draft, I thought, was and the ESPN pre-draft rankings had Mixon, hint hint, that's my steal, going at 26. The no fake football tweeters, Brian Fisher got him at 41.
Name also in
which
progress.
Is pretty ridiculous. That's I've even seen him go a lot of times in the second, like back of the second round, but to fall all the way to the mid 4th round, I thought was ridiculous.
Being drafted as a running back 2 at this point, right?
Yeah, easily.
But
back running back 2, probably.
Yeah.
I also will say though that I do not like Mixon very much this year at his ADP, so I think 41 is a pretty fair value for him, even though the general consensus ADP was late 2nd round, early 3rd round. I think Mixon still has to prove it for me.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I'm not taking him at 26, but I would have loved to have him at 32. I thought early, low 30s, I thought was easily where he should have been, and he went 10 picks later, So I thought that was a pretty good steal. I could not believe I could not believe he fell that far. Well, there are question marks, and I guess that's why he did fall. But 41, I think, is just bananas. But anyway, I guess we can bring up Blake was planned on participating, so he chimed in. He put Alshon Jeffrey at 93, which is pretty crazy value. I think he fell with the injury concern, and it does look like he's going to miss 2 games at least. But, you may have – I think you easily have a wide receiver 2 when he comes back. And at 93, that's pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, you really hope so.
So
depending on how that recovery goes with the age and the injury history.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of those guys that's going to catch touchdowns. He may have 27 yards, but a touchdown or 2.
Did anyone in this trio pass on him more than once? Because I know I am one of those.
Let's see.
I passed on him 5 different times.
I had 2 picks in the 70s, 71 and 74, and I guess I had to pass on him there because I feel like he was ranked above that. So I don't know. Do y'all know pre-draft where he was ranked on ESPN?
Shoot.
I think it was
60s. He was in the...
Or was it 70s?
I was gonna say 4th round still because ESPN hadn't updated their.
No, he was going as a wide receiver 2, definitely a starter, and I wasn't willing to pull the trigger on that.
That's crazy.
No way.
Well, anyway,
I was wondering who would. And it was apparently, oh crap, Spencer.
Yeah, Spencer. That was a great steal. Yeah.
Matt, did you have an idea? Because I don't know if you had this thought too, because as he kept passing me over and over again, did you have an idea of where you would have liked to get him?
I was willing to take him in the 10th, I believe, was my final ranking of him, because the uncertainty is crazy with him. And plus you had people like Nelson Aguilar and Kelvin Benjamin going right around him, who are the clear-cut number one. Obviously, Aguilar only while Jeffrey is away, but he was very effective last year with Jeffrey on the field.
Right.
So.
Jake asked a really good question, and I didn't even think about this during the draft, and I'm sure a lot of other people had the same kind of thought I did. I didn't ever tell myself, okay, if he gets to this point, then he's a good value and I'm going to take him. I just kind of like put him in the back of my mind and then just focused on other guys and kind of forgot about him. And that's probably what a lot of people did and why he ended up falling so freaking far.
Right.
So
I feel like everyone was just hands-off Eagles players.
Yeah. Except Matt, who
Carson Wentz,
has the quarterback who's not playing.
Yeah, I actually saw some
Anyway,
Eagles
that's a
favorites
great
as well.
segment into the worst picks / reaches, we thought. I guess I'll lead this one off. I thought I giggled inside when this pick was made because I thought it was ridiculous. But
I laughed out loud.
But Blake, chronic bronchitis, got Crowell at 53, which is only
expensive.
3 picks away from Kenyon Drake. And I think that drop off is Crowell I don't even think is going to be the number one back at the end of the year in
Between
points
him
on
and
the
Powell,
Jets.
right?
Yeah, Powell is definitely going to do better. And to take him at 53, yeah, I thought that was funny. So, Matt, who's your worst reach?
This is going to surprise some people, but Adam Thielen at 21, like what? What is that?
Yeah, I will.
Like,
I will say I'm not an Adam Thielen. Like I'm not a big fan of Adam Thielen. Like I like him.
Not hooked on a Thielen.
No, I mean, but I don't think it was like so black and white. It was definitely a reach there. I mean, that's kind of where the area. If you wanted him, you pretty much had to take him there or wait till early third round. So I mean, I don't really blame. Who ended up getting them there? Was it? Do we know? Was it?
It was Spencer.
Spencer. What is his team name? He's the 50 Shades of Slay.
50 Shades of Slay.
Yeah,
Never
that's
changing.
I don't really fault him. I think that's not a bad area if you like him. He's just not one of my favorite guys, but I do think that there's a really good chance he ends up actually not being a reach there. So that's why I wouldn't have picked him, but I don't blame. Yeah. So either way.
Yeah, but when you consider like that was 20 picks before Joe Mixon was taken, that was.
Yeah, but if you look,
I believe there were some good wide receivers around that area still. Like
Devontae
how
Adams.
far did Devontae Adams fall?
Kyle, didn't you get him at 22?
oh my gosh, no way! Did he really get Thielen at 21?
Yes.
Oh, okay, yeah, that may not have been good. Devontae Adams was still there. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for picking him
pretty
and
devastating.
letting Devontae Adams fall to me.
Yes. Oh my god.
But I still like Thielen a decent amount. I mean, I don't not Devontae Adams level, but I still think he's all right.
Yes, I would like to also make an honorable mention of someone who picked a player who we did not know was a reach at the time, but ended up being a reach. Jerick McKinnon is out.
I don't think.
For the year.
Yeah, but you can't. I mean, hindsight. Everybody has 20/20 hindsight. I do not.
I know. Yeah.
Picking at 27 though, I would have loved to have him there. He was in when I had picked 22. If obviously I did not plan on Devontae Adams being there. McKinnon, I was looking at actually 2 running backs. He was one of them. And if Devontae Adams wouldn't have been there, there's a decent chance I would have gotten him even at 22. So I can't blame Steven for that. I mean, at least he's got Burita, who I think will actually be better than Morris anyway.
So you were happy with McKinnon,
Disagree.
even with the team change and the just all those uncertainties.
The only thing the team change didn't bother. Actually, I liked the team change. The only thing that bothered me was him being banged up in the offseason. Because I think I can't remember if it was his knee before this, but he missed all of the preseason with an injury. which is a little bit, and they never specify in the preseason because they don't have to have an official injury report. So we don't know exactly what it was, if he, had a sprained knee or what, I don't know, or if he just hit it on something and had a bruise, So I always assume the worst, so that's why I was a little bit more afraid of him than some other guys. But
as soon as I saw that he was being evaluated for an injury, I immediately, I was out in the field at my grandpa's picking up limbs, and then I saw that notification. I immediately went to the waiver wire and picked up Alfred Morris.
That was a good grab.
Well played, sir.
Yeah. Anyway, Blake, this is interesting. Blake also put in his worst pick. And we have the guy who actually made the pick here, so this is a good chance for him to kind of rebuttal Blake. I disagree. I don't think this is. I mean, it may have been a little bit of a reach in terms of where ESPN had him going, but if I did my rankings, I probably would have had him around where Jake ended up drafting him. It's Lamar Miller was picked at pick 39. Now there are some people I think I may like a little better than him that went after him, like Kenyon Drake or something, but you can make an argument for Lamar Miller. He's going to get more. I think he's going to get more volume than Kenyon Drake, for sure. And he's on a better offense. I don't think anybody's doubting that with Deshaun Watson. So anyway, do you want to? I guess I'm kind of making the argument for you, but
yeah. So what was going through my mind is through all my mock drafts and leading up to this draft, there was a trio of guys that were going together. It was Dion Lewis, Lamar Miller, and Marshawn Lynch. I think in our draft, Marshawn Lynch went first, and I had Lamar Miller ranked above Dion Lewis because of his guaranteed volume. Over the last 2 years, he's had flex or better numbers 82% of the time, according to the Ballers, with the Texans. So he's got the same offense, some consistency there. And then with Dion Lewis, there's just the question marks with the new team. I think Marshawn Lynch, I had him ranked above that. But I'm really happy with Lamar Miller. I think that he's not necessarily going to give you those boom weeks. I think that's why the Ballers don't like him very much. They're always they compared him to going to the DMV because of his mediocre consistency. But I'm happy with that at my running back too. I think with the balance of my team at that point, I already had the upside of Beckham, at that point with the inconsistency of Beckham, that possible ankle injury, I wanted a little bit more boring consistency on my team.
Let me ask you, in hindsight, okay, you passed on. Joe Mixon was taken after Lamar Miller. If you had to do it all over again, would you rather have Joe Mixon or Lamar Miller?
Yeah, I'm a Lamar Miller truther based on his consistency ratings. And I was looking at some through Pro Football Focus. They have some metrics that define elusiveness. And so Joe Mixon, regardless of his offense and his offensive line, there were some metrics that measure when he was one-on-one with the defender, and his elusiveness rating of being able to beat tackles was actually dead last in his sample size. And so, personally, I believe in his talent, but I would like to see a little bit more on his NFL level. I mean, I think we all believe in Joe Mixon, the college athlete.
The other thing I like about Mixon this year, and I think that's going to help change that statistic you just heard, Joe Mixon shed like 20 pounds this offseason. So I think that's going to really help. I mean, there's been kind of a history when guys end up losing a ton of weight. Like, I think Le'Veon Bell did his rookie season. He came into the league like 235 and then lost, probably close to 15, 20 pounds.
Wow.
And obviously, we know the rest of the story. What about like Alex Collins, or would you have been happier with Aaron Rodgers taking one pick behind Lamar Miller?
See, Mike made the comparison to buying an expensive jacket and having no pants.
And for all that don't know, Mike is a Fantasy Footballers host, the podcast that, a lot of us listen to. Anyway.
Yeah, and I buy the Fantasy Footballers argument that quarterbacks can be replaced. Aaron Rodgers, he's one of a kind, but gosh, 40 is so expensive. And I'm a big believer in depth, and a lot of people don't like Lamar Miller, but I like the consistency, and I had him drafted several times in mocks. And I think going back, Alex Collins, he's kind of a decent guy, but he just didn't have the consistency that Lamar Miller did, and just
he was a rookie last year.
Yeah, not as big of a sample size.
Yeah.
It makes me feel a little bit better to have a 2-year of, I think he was like 70% running back 1 or 2, and then like 86% flex or better over the last 2 years, and that made me feel pretty comfortable.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it was like a terrible reach, honestly. But anyway, let's move into the kind of a power ranking, per se, of everybody's team. And we can kind of give you, if you don't know who's kind of on what team owners have what players, we'll kind of read those off as we go through the teams. Let's first begin with chronic bronchitis. Are you there, Matt? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I think let's just go ahead and give number grades. What do you think? Since we didn't go ahead and list these out in order, you did, but I didn't look like I did. That would probably be difficult anyway. Let's just give. So basically, what we did was we looked at everybody's team and we gave them a 1 to 10 rating, with 1 being like you're definitely not winning a game, and 10 you're like a lock for the championship, like you're gonna win the championship. So I would like to think that 5 is kind of like a 6 and 7, 7 and 6 season. You know, you're like, you're mediocre. I was really impressed with everybody's team, and I gave most people. I mean, I think everybody but 1 got like above a 5 or 5. So I like this year. Everybody drafted really well, I'll say. I mean, I was really impressed, and it was really frustrating. I really like my team, but everybody else's teams look pretty darn solid, too. So I will start off with that. But so let me pull up Blake's team real quick and tell y'all who he has. His first pick ended up being Gronk. Then he got Antonio Brown. He's got Antonio Brown and AJ Green as starting receivers, and Brandon Cooks in his flex, with Rex Burkhead and Crowell as starting running backs. And then Mariota is quarterback. Gronk is his tight end, of course. And we don't even need to mention defensive kickers, honestly.
No.
So I ended up giving Blake a 7.2, which may sound high compared to Matt and relative to some of the other people's, because I will say his running backs are just they're crap. Let's just be honest with ourselves.
Oh yeah,
they are terrible. But I honestly think the Studley wide receivers and Gronk will be able to make up for that. And he has a lot of receivers on his bench, and then he only needs a couple to turn out decent, and then he's got a pretty good team. And I think that's sadly probably going to happen.
Yeah, he has a lot of running backs on his bench. 2 of them that I like the most are Rashad Penny and Sonny Michel. This is definitely a team for the future because
it's too bad it's not Dynasty.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, anyway, what grade did you give him, Matt?
I gave him a 6.5, which was about a little below average compared to my other rankings. I was kind of down on everyone, and all of you were really close in grades. Obviously, I didn't rank myself. Otherwise, I would have given myself a 10. But.
Yeah, that's the other thing I want to say. I would say I have literally every team, but maybe like 1 or 2 people within a 1.5 of each other, and that's like not even a joke. It's splitting hairs here. Everybody's teams are pretty freaking good.
I had to go.
So don't get soft on us. Don't get upset if you don't like your ranking. We're just trashing you a little bit.
I was going to say, I had to go back and actually change some of the grades because I had multiple people at like 6, 7, 8, and so I was like putting decimal points in at that point.
I ended up doing the same thing. I'm trying to look at kind of where I have Blake compared to everybody else. I think I have Blake in probably, just eyeballing it here, probably like the 7th or 8th spot in a power ranking situation. Maybe like 6 or 7. I guess we can put it all together at the end. He's at 7.2. Obviously, Blake didn't give himself a grade. I guess we can move on to me. I'll let Jake sit in for Blake and kind of critique my team. I guess, Matt, you can go ahead and start since you've already made a grade.
Yeah, so for Kyle, I had an 8.5, and this is
I guess we should read my team
right,
first.
Okay.
I can read it off. So I got Deshaun Watson at quarterback. Love it. Leonard Fournette and Kenyon Drake are my top running backs. I got Keenan Allen, Michael Thomas, and Devontae Adams. With Devontae Adams in my flex, Trey Burton at tight end. Some highlighted bench players. I got Kerryon Johnson, who I absolutely love. Kenny Stills, I locked up the Colts backfield with Marlon Mack, Jordan Wilkins, and then some other sleeper wide receivers, Tyler Lockett, Geronimo Allison.
Sleeping Beauty.
Sleeping Beauty wide receivers. So anyway, yeah, go ahead, Matt.
So the reason I gave Kyle such a high grade, not quite my first, I don't think, is because, first of all, he has 3 round 2 wide receivers, upper echelon.
Hold on. I want to stop you there. I am your first.
You are?
Yes.
I think your
Right.
closest is Katie at 8.4, so it was just a 1/10 of a point in your
Yes.
defense.
Anyway, go ahead.
Man.
So.
Well, I didn't want to inflate Kyle's head too much, but I mean,
He needs no help.
Yeah. So, Deshaun Watson, I think he has another big year. Nothing quite like last year, but even if he regresses just a little bit, he's easily a QB1, high-end QB1 at that.
Agreed.
And Leonard Fournette, I mean, he's going to get solid production. He always gets solid numbers with that production. He's very efficient. And actually, I heard this one stat from Pro Football Focus that said Leonard Fournette's game speed was the fastest in the NFL.
Ooh,
last
gosh,
year.
I love that.
And now he's a few pounds lighter.
Oh, man.
Yikes.
And so that's what really did it.
He's
for
another
me.
one that lost like 20 pounds in the offseason, which I am super big fan of.
So, yeah,
anyway,
that's-
Jake, any thoughts on my team? I mean, don't you love it?
well, the wizardry with draft pick trading is completely to blame for this travesty. Yes, 4 picks inside the top 22 is all you need to know about Kyle's team. Easily number 1.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the kind words. I guess we can move on to rip on Matt's team.
Ooh.
Let me see. Let me pull him up here so we can tell everyone what he has.
Sadly, Matt didn't give us as much ammunition this year.
Well, he made the lovely pick of grabbing a quarterback who's not even going to play the first few weeks, most likely, and Carson Wentz.
I have an
then
IR slot.
his, which he's not eligible for just yet. And then he also has Dalvin Cook at Alex Collins at running back, which I like a lot, and Kareem Hunt in his flex, which, I guess it just doesn't really matter who you put there. And then he also has Jay Ajayi on his bench. I mean, his running backs are about as solid as you can get. There's another team that I think arguably is right there running back-wise with him. Maybe, but Matt may have the best running back group in the league for sure. He's got Stephon Diggs, Marquise Goodwin as receivers. On his bench, he's got Crowder, Kelvin Benjamin, Nelson Aguilar, Tyler Eifert as his tight end. I mean, it's pretty solid team. Pretty solid team. Let's see. I gave him a 8, which is I think the highest grade I gave anyone. Yes.
So you have Matt as number 1 this year?
Well, I mean, I would put myself as 1, but I didn't give myself a grade, so
You can safely give him...
so I'd
Second
safely
place.
put him at 2. Yeah, for sure. What do you think about his team, Jake?
I like it. I was really impressed with the Dalvin Cook, Kareem Hunt on the back turn.
If he had any holes, and I'm just trying to say I think my team's better, and I think it's better because, especially in a PPR league, I think his receivers I don't know for sure he's got a clear even one stud receiver. I think Stephon Diggs has really good potential at that, but he's got a lot of good receivers. Just, we'll see about if they're studs yet.
Goodwin is made up of purely hype train.
I think he could be solid, but I think he's going to really, I don't know if he's got a chance to be a complete stud. I think Diggs has a better shot, but we'll see. Anyway.
Yes. Not saying he's going to be a bust candidate, but there are question marks.
Yeah, and he's had so many concussions apparently in the past few years. I don't know, 6 in the past 2 or 3 years, so that's another thing to worry about. Let's see who we got next. It looks like Leonard's Tourette's, which is Jack's team. I gave Jack a pretty solid grade of a 7.6, which if I had to guess, I think that put him around 4th. I think that would put him, maybe 3rd. I think that would put him, 4th. I think that put him about 4th in the power rankings. I really, really like Jack's team. Let me pull him up and tell you who's on it. That would probably be helpful. Let's see. Jack started off with Alvin Kamara, and then he's got Carlos Hyde as his other running back. This is his only weakness is probably running back. He's got Corey Clement on his bench, Jeremy Hill, who are solid depth pieces, but he lacks a little bit of depth at the top there. Wide receiver wise, he's got T.Y. Hilton, Allen Robinson, Chris Hogan. I like those guys quite a bit. And I think, T.Y. Hilton could be a monster with Andrew Luck back. Kirk Cousins at quarterback, Travis Kelce at tight end. He's got pretty good depth wide receivers on his bench too. He's got a pretty solid team.
Yeah, I
have to agree.
I give Jack a 7.9, which puts him at number 4 in my power rankings as well. What did it for me was Alvin Kamara is a solid running back. He's going to make up for whatever Carlos Hyde lacks. And I think actually Carlos Hyde could hold on to this job all year. That's what it's looking like so far. And his receiving core is really solid. T.Y. Hilton, Allen Robinson, Chris Hogan, all number ones for their team right now. And a number 1 tight end possibly. So it's crazy.
Anything else you want to add about Jake?
He stole many players that were hoping would drop to me, so I'd have to say he did well.
Well, let's move on. Next, we have Doc Rob's team. You want to start us off, Matt? Well, I guess he changed his team name. It's no longer Doc Rob, but it is formerly Doc Rob. Yes.
Yeah, he had to explain to me what that was, but some highlights.
I do not know what that is.
Yeah, I still don't know.
Me neither. Aaron Rodgers.
What did you give? What grade? Yeah, go ahead. Yeah,
Okay.
You got it.
So I'm going to tell you who he had first. Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Freeman, Derrick Henry, Julio Jones, Golden Tate, Greg Olsen, Robbie Anderson as his flex, Vikings defense, and Steven Gostkowski. Sorry, no defense and kickers. And then he's got a pretty good bench. Some notable bench players are Chris Carson and Drew Brees, and that's about it, I think. And then I gave him a 7, which is the result of Aaron Rodgers and Julio Jones, I think the most. That brings him up to number 6 in my power rankings.
I think Matt and I have one of the bigger discrepancies here. In my power rankings, it would put him, let's see, probably maybe like 9th. I stupidly didn't list everybody in order. I think it'd put him about 9th. The reason why I have him lower is I'm not a huge Derrick Henry fan at his RB2. And while I like his bench running backs, I don't know if they're going to be weekly plug-in starters the entire year at running back. Devontae Freeman, I think, is okay. I probably wouldn't have drafted him until the 3rd round. No. I think he's, I still think he's, a fringe RB1. But that I think leaves him with some weakness. And his wide receivers, I love Julio. Golden Tate, there's talk he's not even going to be on the field in 2 wide receiver sets anymore, with Galladay kind of taking over. Robbie Anderson maybe in prison soon. So I think there's some questions. And outside of Robbie Anderson, his next best receiver, it looks like, is Cordell Patterson. So that's, I think there's some questions. That's why I had him a little bit lower than Matt. The other thing I want to say before we start here, there's people that I thought were a lock for the playoffs last year. For example, Brian Fisher's team, he had Lamar Miller, Devontae Freeman, and DeMarco Murray with his first 3 picks. And in standard scoring, I thought, oh my gosh, he's got like one of the top 3 teams. And, well, I think we know based on last year, that didn't go so well. The only one that was even close to an RB1 was Freeman. I think he finished the year at like RB14. Yeah. So what we're saying now could be more or less meaningless. So don't take it too harshly. Anyway, anything you want to add to Chris Roberts' team, Dr. Roberts?
Well, Chris is usually always pretty good in the draft. I was very surprised to see him draft 2 tight ends and 2 quarterbacks. Really,
especially if you have Aaron Rodgers. Like, really, why do you need to get another quarterback?
Drew Brees, especially.
Yeah.
Just missing some depth. But other than that, middle of the pack like the rest of us. The middle of the bell curve.
I agree.
Let's see who we got next on our list.
No fake football tweeters.
No fake football tweeters. We have I wonder if, Matt, it looks like you boosted yours up a little bit. I thought we were further apart on these, actually.
Yeah, this was a purely because like I had two people ranked the same way. I had to boost one up and one down.
Anyway, I really like this team. This, in power rankings terms, I think this guy would be probably 3 or 4. No Fake Football Tweeters. He has he has Melvin Gordon. Was his first pick, and then I could not believe that DeAndre Hopkins fell at 13. He was another candidate for me for steal of the draft.
Easily.
I think he's got maybe even the best chance at being number 1 overall receiver, and he fell to 13. That doesn't mean his floor isn't lower. But anyway, he's got Ben Roethlisberger as quarterback, Joe Mixon as other running back. We talked about him a bit. Corey Davis, receiver. Dion Lewis is in his flex. Jordan Reed is his tight end, and he just recently picked off Vernon Davis off of waivers, the other Washington tight end. Between those two guys, I think he's got a top 6 tight end, like without a doubt. On his bench, Randall Cobb, Cooper Kupp, Ty Montgomery I like, Javorius Allen, Keelan Cole. So, I don't know. I don't see a whole lot of holes in this roster. I will admit that. I mean, he's got pretty darn good running backs and even like solid depth. There's 4 guys I think that could potentially be like weekly plug-in guys at running back. I mean, Hopkins as a receiver is ridiculous. Corey Davis I love. If I had to give him I would say, he may be weak at receiver, but on his bench he's got Cooper Kupp and Keelan Cole, who I think I really like. I think Cooper Kupp is going to be a monster and the number 1 receiver probably on the Rams. So what do you have him in your power rankings, Matt?
Power rankings, I think I actually have him pretty low. Oh, wait.
You have him at 5, it looks
5.
like.
Okay.
That's actually pretty high.
Yeah, that's
Wow.
upper echelon.
Yeah.
So
I figured you'd be lower. Because you have him at, what's your grade that you gave him?
I gave him a 7.1, which what did it for me, the reason I have him that low, first of all, I think Joe Mixon is a good wide receiver too, or running back too, sorry. I don't want anyone to think.
Whoa, he's changed position.
Yes. I don't want anyone to think that I'm like low on Joe Mixon. I think he's a serviceable running back too. There we go.
We're really stuck on this.
Corey Davis, we just haven't seen much from him, and I'm not really high on Marcus Mariota this year. And Dion Lewis, again, we haven't seen him in that system yet. And so that's why I think I'm a little higher on Derrick Henry and a little lower than Dion Lewis than you are, Kyle. And I think that's why our rankings are
That's probably the
different.
discrepancy there. Yeah, I love Dion Lewis, especially in PPR, more than Henry for sure. What do you think, Jake?
Henry's not much of a pass catcher, but yeah, I would have to agree with Kyle being higher on Dion Lewis.
What do you think about this team?
Overall, good. I mean,
You
same
agree
thing
with our power rankings, kind of that 4 to 5 range?
Yeah, Corey Davis, he's got that upside, still unproven, but plenty of backups.
Yeah. Moving on, we have next. This is probably our biggest discrepancy.
Yeah.
The Belbonic Plague. Katie Fisher, new member of the league. I gave her a 6.2, which
Unfair.
is one of the lower
Unfair.
teams. I would say in my power rankings, she would be second to last. That put her at 11. And let me bring up her team and explain why. Obviously, she has Le'Veon Bell. There's no arguing that. Russell Wilson, Marshawn Lynch, Mike Evans, Larry Fitzgerald, Kyle Rudolph, Juju Smith-Schuster. Her bench is where I really kind of have some problems. Tariq Cohen, Alan Hearns, Cameron Meredith, Theo Riddick, running back, Devontae Booker, running back, Rashard Matthews, Tennessee wide receiver. I like the top of her team, but the bottom of her team, I think, it has some massive holes. Like Juju, honestly, I think he was way overhyped just by all the analysts and everybody. I don't like him that much this year. So I think she's going to struggle with flex. I like her starters. If anybody has, I think Marshawn Lynch has quite a bit of risk. I would have drafted him at 50. I'm not saying he was a bad pick. I just think he's got quite a bit of risk, and the fact that her bench isn't good. If she needs nobody, if we look at all our starting teams, I don't care what team you look at, somebody's going to disappoint us, even in our starting lineups, most likely on all these teams. If you go back and look at your team last year, like I would say the top teams that only had like 4 starters that actually panned out and were every week plug and play. So if she needs bench spots, she's going to be struggling. I just don't like her. That's why I put her so low. Looking back, I probably should have bumped her up a little bit because, I mean, she does have some people I think can make up the points with Bell and Evans and Fitzgerald. But that was my reason for putting her low.
See, I looked at her.
What do you think?
I looked at her starting lineup, and I just said, listen, she's not going to have depth at the position because her starters are so solid. Like, Mike Evans is going to be a little shaky for the first few weeks. I'll give you that while Jameis isn't there.
I think he may be better the first few weeks. I think he was hyper-targeted by Fitzpatrick last year. I'm not going to argue that. I love her starters. The only one I do not like, though, is Juju at flex. And, I mean, it's just one spot, but... So I guess that's where we disagree.
Well, he's the wide receiver too, right? Anybody?
Yeah. Well, no, they got that James Washington, the rookie, who I think
is that that
could
sounds
put
like
up, close amount of points. I'm not saying he's going to be Juju, but I think he's going to really take a lot away, sadly. But yeah, I think that's probably our biggest discrepancy. And looking back, I'd probably bump her up a couple spots if I had to do it over again. Anything else to say on the bubonic plague?
In my power rankings, I have her as number 2. So she's right up there with you.
Whoa. Wow, that's quite a discrepancy.
I love Katie's team.
Anyway, we'll talk about View from the 417. I'm so sorry for your loss, Stephen. We will be grading them based on post-Mixon ACL injury.
McKinnon.
If you haven't heard, McKinnon, oh my gosh. Jerick McKinnon is out for the season.
The wide receiver for the San
with
Francisco 49ers.
I'm hoping
kidding.
that was
Yeah,
a sarcastic wide receiver. I think he would have gotten a lot better grade from all of us had this injury not happened. But I gave him a 6.3. One of the lower, let's see. I think I'd have him probably at 11. I feel like I've said that about somebody already. But I think he'd be 11 maybe in my power rankings. No, he'd be ahead of Katie. He'd be 10 in my power rankings. I guess let me go through and tell you who he has. Obviously, he drafted McKinnon tragically. But thankfully, he had Burita, who's, I think, going to be hopefully okay replacing him. At quarterback, he's got Andrew Luck, who he was another honorable mention for me for steal of the draft. I love Andrew Luck, and he went at like 119. That is ridiculous. He got Saquon Barkley with his first pick, Duke Johnson, other running back. Wide receiver wise, he's got Doug Baldwin, Amari Cooper, Josh Gordon, Kenny Golladay is on his bench, Aaron Jones on his bench suspended, Matt Breida, Mike Williams, Calvin Ridley, Austin Eckler he just picked up, I think. Delaney Walker is his tight end. So I like it. I mean, obviously, I think we'd all like his team a lot better if McKinnon was healthy. The wide receiver wise, I think he's pretty solid. I hope Doug Baldwin stays healthy. That'd be the only question mark. I don't like Amari Cooper as a player, but I think he may get 200 targets, which may make him really good, whether he's a good player or not.
The Lamar Miller effect.
So, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Josh Gordon, we all know what he can be in the flex. So, what do y'all think about it?
I thought this was a very risky team. This was a team full of all the people that I was like, yeah, if I have a solid lineup, then I'll take him. But Steven made a lineup with all of them. And so, if they all work out, this is going to be...
I guess it's a good time to bring up our sponsor. It is aloe vera from Mexico. If you're ever feeling the burn, apply as much as you need.
He has Andrew Luck, who is hurt, Doug Baldwin, who is still hurt, who has a knee injury right now. He has Amari Cooper, who has a drop issue, Josh Gordon, who has a weed issue. I mean, like, what is going on here?
Oh, goodness. I really like Barkley. Actually, ESPN dropped the questionable tag by his name, so that's interesting. So it looks like he's a full go. But yeah, I think he's got a lot of upside, and he's got a decent bench too. I think he'll be okay.
I'd also,
obviously, I think we'd like him better with McKinnon healthy. What do you think, Jake?
Well, we'd like to see the unfolding of the saga of Mike Williams to see if he will indeed pull the sword out of the stone for the Chargers.
Right. Well, they just maybe we shouldn't bring this up. I feel like this could help people. But Chargers did just re-sign Antonio Gates yesterday.
Yeah.
So that may make
that
Mike
never
Williams look not quite as good. Antonio Gates tied in for the LA Chargers, by the way.
Yeah, I had Steven
for the past 20 years or so.
Yeah, sorry. I had Steven ranked at number 9 in my power rankings. He came in at 6 out of 10 for me.
Gotcha. Let's move on to Dak to the future. Well, I guess, spoiler, this was my least favorite team. I don't know if it was so much his fault. It seemed like Evan auto-drafted the last couple teams. The last couple players,
He did leave early.
He left early, so he got wide receivers. If he would have just, the last couple picks, gotten some extra running backs, he only has 3 running backs on his entire roster. And 2 of them have questionable tags by their names. So he's got Tom Brady at quarterback, Ezekiel Elliott running back, nobody debating those two. LaShawn McCoy.
Lots of debate.
At running back. Jarvis Landry, Emmanuel Sanders, Crabtree in his flex, Ertz at tight end. On his bench, he's got Chris Thompson, his third running back and last running back, who I think is a little banged up. Josh Doxson at Washington. Njoku, Jimmy Handsome, Garoppolo. And then his last 2 auto drafts, I think, were John Brown and Michael Gallup. I like those guys a lot. I just wish he had a couple more running backs. Maybe if you want to send some trades my way, Evan, let me know. Anyway, what do you think, Jake?
Yeah, well, I think anytime you get the big name Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers, you're losing a little bit of depth. Other than that, pretty run of the mill for me. I don't see it as way on the top of the list or way to the bottom.
I guess I didn't mention this. He is my last in my power rankings, in case I didn't mention it earlier. What do you think, Matt?
I do not like this team. I'm just gonna say that. Tom Brady.
Jerk.
Tom Brady. I don't really like him that much as a fantasy quarterback. He's gonna be a QB1.
He led the league in passing last year. I'm pretty sure. I'm just saying he led the league in passing last year.
He didn't lead the league in fantasy points, though. He can be
That
a
is
good
true.
real life quarterback, and
he was number 3. Is that bad?
What?
I'm trying to defend Evan since he's not here to defend himself. He was number 3. Is that terrible?
I think Matt might be slightly bitter because
Tom Brady.
There was a fantasy football love triangle between me, Matt, and Tom Brady last year.
And I guess that I guess for Matt's perspective, he was number 3 with Aaron Rodgers getting hurt, Deshaun Watson getting hurt, Carson Wentz, the probable MVP,
there were no
getting
other
hurt.
quarterbacks.
So, but he finished 3. That's pretty solid. So, anyway, I guess we won't tear up Evan too much. Let's move
I
into
gave him a
somebody
negative
else.
7 out of 10, and he was last in my power rankings.
Oh.
Yeah, I saw that on the chart. It really confused me.
Well, here we go. Devin Toe Funchess, Jake's team we got sitting here. I gave him a grade of 7, which kind of puts him somewhere in the middle, I think, in my power
I think
rankings.
directly in the middle, actually.
I don't, 7 I think is. Let me pull up his team so we can talk about it. Jake probably can tell you more than I can, but he's got Cam Newton, Christian McCaffrey, Lamar Miller, Odell, Demarius, Jack Doyle at tight end, Tevin Coleman at his flex. On his bench, he's got all the suspended players: Mark Ingram, Julian Edelman, the lovely Ronald Jones, who carried 28 times in the preseason for 22 yards, Giovanni Bernard, Danny Amendola, Doug Martin, who's now at Oakland, and Eric Ebron. I think he just picked up today as a backup tight end. Ooh, he also has Doyle. Yeah, so that's not bad. I think Jake's, it's splitting hairs with some of these teams. It's hard to say for sure. I love McCaffrey. I think if he gets the work he did in the preseason, could be a top 5 running back. Lamar Miller's going to get a ton of work because he's the only guy that can walk, in Houston right now. Odell and Demarius. I like Demarius. A lot of people are low on him. I love Demarius. And Odell, there's no arguing that. Tevin Coleman, I think is going to be a solid play guy until he gets, an Edelman or a Mark Ingram back until in week 5. So I think overall it's a pretty solid team. What do you think, Matt?
Jake, if you can win 2 games before Mark Ingram comes back, then you are in good shape, my friend.
And Julian Edelman, I agree completely. Yeah, if you can go 2-2 in those first 4 weeks, you are set. What do you think?
The name of the game is survive the first 4 weeks.
Yeah, and the bye week with Mark Ingram in week 5.
Yeah, but I mean Julian Edelman will be there, and I think PPR wise, I think he'll be all right. And he's got some other bench guys that may. I think Doug Martin could be pretty solid.
I would agree with you guys. I don't think I was super happy with my team. I think Kyle's a nice guy.
No, I'm serious. I think it's we're splitting hairs here with some of these people, and I think there's like 10 people I would say that easily could win the championship, and it's probably all 12. Honestly, it's fantasy football. This stuff's hard.
I'm not happy with your bench, Jake. I will say that. Besides Mark Ingram and Julian Edelman, I think Ronald Jones is a buzz.
I don't like Ronald Jones. I love Danny Amendola, though. I think he could have over 80 catches easy.
He's going to get that much work this year.
Jarvis Landry's gone. He's going to be the starting slot receiver, which is what Jarvis played the last 4 years.
How many inches shorter is he than Jarvis Landry? How high is his vertical?
Like 1 or 2 inches. I'm not worried about that. The only thing I'd be worried about is him getting hurt, which he has like every year except last year, I think. So that's something to think about. But he's he got him probably like 12th round or something.
It was pretty late.
Yeah, Blake is saying goodbye real quick since he couldn't be on the podcast.
Oh, that's okay. Moving on. Let's look at 50 Shades of Slay's team. This is another. I love these running backs that Spencer drafted. By the way, Spencer, you totally owe me. I set you up with your NBA bracket and got you that 4th overall pick. So you can send a generous trade my way whenever you're ready. If you're still listening. At quarterback, he's got Matthew Stafford, and then running back-wise, it's ridiculous. David Johnson, Jordan Howard, Royce Freeman, with Royce Freeman in its flex. Wide receiver, he's got Thielen and Marvin Jones. Evan Ingram and his tight end. On his bench, he's got Robert Woods, Alshon Jeffrey, a Steele nominee, Peyton Barber. He drafted another quarterback, Phillip Rivers, Devontae Parker, and then he ended up getting another defense. Don't ask. That's okay.
Whoa.
Even though he has Jaguars D.
I did not see that.
Anyway, I gave him a grade of 6.8, which is maybe slightly lower than the average. I originally made it a lot higher, but I had to tell myself that we're in a PPR league because I love his running backs, but the receiving wise, I think there's some question marks. So that's why I gave it a little bit lower grade than originally. What do you think, Matt? Matt is currently away, apparently. What do you think, Jake?
Well, I like you. The running back core is very stout. I'm a huge fan of getting a strong core of running backs to carry you through the season. Stafford, a great steal right at the end. Stafford and Matt Ryan were 2 that I was thinking about late in the draft.
Yeah, I thought that was a great. In his opening schedule, so good. Stafford says
right. Yeah. Evan Ingram, a little bit of a regression alert, but he still could be very solid even if he regresses.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to get as many targets, but he only caught like slightly over 50% of passes last year, and I think that goes way up to where he probably ends up doing about what he did last year, which was pretty darn good.
Well, what was he, the last man standing last year?
Yeah, for most weeks. That's what it seemed like. Matt, are you back?
Yeah, I'm back. Sorry,
this is a pretty big discrepancy grade-wise. Matt ended up. Looks like Matt, you gave him an 8.1.
Yes.
You want to talk about that?
So what did it for me was a strong running back core. Obviously, I'm a fan because of my running back core. You can kind of tell that of stacking up on running backs. And so David Johnson, Jordan Howard. I'm very high on Jordan Howard this year. I think he's going to be probably a mid-tier wide receiver 1 or running back 1. Wow,
that wasn't even on purpose.
This is bad, man. And then Royce Freeman, I'm a big fan of his upside. Adam Thielen was the only reason I had Spencer so low.
And that's the reason, I think you may have been away from the computer, but that's why I had him lower than I think y'all did, is receiving-wise, especially in a PPR league, I feel like. Marvin Jones, I like him, but I think he's regressing from last year. He had a career year in touchdowns, and which barely made him a wide receiver 1, so anyway, I think it's overall a solid. Those running backs are going to be, I think, are going to make him solid the whole year. Yeah. Last team we got coming up here is Jared's Golf Balls. I really like this team, and this is a pretty big discrepancy here for us. He did go Chiefs heavy, which I'm surprised didn't give him, a little bump in the rankings there. But he got Mahomes at quarterback, Todd Gurley, and Jamal Williams starting running backs, Tyreek Hill, Sammy Watkins, locking up them Chiefs for the receivers with Devin Funchess in his flex, Jimmy Graham at tight end. And this is, I love his bench too. Adrian Peterson I thought was a great pick. Sterling Shepard I'm in love with. He's got Paul Richardson, Latavius Murray, Cameron Brate, and then Jared Goff, because, you got to have Jared Goff if your team is Jared Goff balls. So what's the hate here, Matt? What's your ranking and why are you so low?
Okay.
Why are you wrong, I guess I should say.
What really did it for me was the wide receivers and the flex position and how early he took, say, Pat Mahomes, and Jamal Williams was fair value, I guess. But Tyreek Hill and Sammy Watkins, I don't see them both doing well on a week-to-week basis.
That is a scary, scary combo.
Yes, Devin Funchess, I don't think is going to be as good this year either.
Devin Funchess, a lot of people are worried about him. I'm risen completely because DJ Moore's listed like 4th or 5th on the depth chart.
Yeah,
he's the number one receiver.
I'm not worried
Devin
about
Funchess.
DJ Moore. I'm more worried about Greg
Olsen. Yeah, I guess that's a good point.
Greg Olsen was on the field, being a Devin Funchess owner last year. I can tell you Devin did not have as many.
But I love Sterling Shepard. I think he's going to be a monster. He's going to be working out of the slot, which is the Adam Thielen role in the Pat Schumer offense. He can slip him in there, or Adrian Peterson, starting running back for a solid offense in Washington. I really think that this is a solid team, and I think you're just flat out wrong, Matt.
Yeah, if Odell gets hurt, then I feel a lot better about his team. But
and Todd Gurley, gosh, and Jamal Williams, I think is a he got him early, but like I said, I think he got a lot of these guys earlier than they were ranked. But looking at his team at the end, I can't argue with it. It's pretty. I like it. Jimmy Graham, I think, has a potential to be a stud.
The Chiefs' dependence doesn't concern you?
I think a little bit, but I think the Chiefs can be bad and his team be amazing because I think their defense is terrible. I think Pat Mahomes is going to be chunking it all the time. I think he's going to average like 45 attempts a game, which means Tyreek Hill and Sammy Watkins are going to be good. I don't have a problem with it.
To give everyone some context, I ranked Caleb 5 out of 10, and he is second to last before Evan in my power
He's
rankings.
probably pretty up there for me, probably like 4, 5, 6 area to give. I really like Caleb's team quite a bit. Any last words, Jake?
Packers backfield is scary.
I really think Jamal Williams runs away with that job, though. I really do.
Yeah.
What do you think, Matt?
I think Jamal Williams is the Packers running back to own for sure, but it was a matter of how early he took him compared to where he was ranked.
Well, we are going extremely long on time, so we're going to speed through this. We want to quickly talk about the Week 1 matchups. Let's just each give, not even justify it. Let's just say who we think is going to win. First matchup, we got Carson Noma versus the fake football tweeters. This is Matt versus Brian Fisher. Matt thinks he's going to win. Who do you think? Jake, you probably need to see the teams, huh? Let's see.
It would be helpful.
Let's look at we can go to the scoreboard here and pull them up.
I'm currently projected for 92.9 with Carson Wentz out, and Uncle Brian is projected for 115 with a full roster.
Yeah, but that's you need to get 18 points from your quarterback just to tie him in rankings. So
Easy.
I don't think you think that that's that Deshaun Watson and Russell Wilson are projected for under 18. So I don't know if that's if you think that you're
Yeah, but Deshaun
projections
Watson
are quite
and
that
Russell
good.
Wilson are both playing
Anyway,
probably up.
who you got, Jake?
Yeah,
I got football tweeters, and I'll tell you. Well, okay, we should probably.
I think I'll narrowly
Mostly because
agree with
Mixon's
Kyle.
playing Indianapolis. Moving on. Let's look at Chris Roberts versus Kyle Fisher. Who you got, Matt?
I have Kyle winning narrowly versus Timophilus Flew. Again, it's the running backs thing.
What do you
the
think?
wide receiver.
What do you think, Jake?
I think Matt loves quarterbacks, and I think that Aaron Rodgers.
You mean Uncle Chris?
What I'm saying with Matt's
Oh, right,
ranking,
right,
Matt
right.
loves quarterbacks, and so do I. However, I think Kyle has the potential of going undefeated this year,
Yeah,
sadly.
I mean, let's be honest. I'm winning that one. So, chronic bronchitis, and Leonard's Tourette's. I am going to have to give this one to Leonard's Tourette's. I think I would
Same.
say so.
I would agree.
Just because of them running backs, I just don't know what to think. I think we may have a clearer picture in later weeks, but for the bronchitis. But week one, I'm a little scared.
Next week, as a matter of fact.
View from the 417 versus Jared Golf Balls. This is a pretty good matchup here. It kind of depends on the Chiefs matchup, which isn't great. That's going to be tough. I'm going to pick Jared Golf Balls. Who y'all
That's
got?
who I have.
I'm going to go with 417 just because I don't know if the Chiefs' offense can sustain that many players.
Well, no consensus yet, except maybe, for me,
We
obviously.
had one.
Yeah, that's me. Yeah. Anyway, Bubonic Plague versus 50 Shades of Slay. This looks like a pretty good matchup. I'm going to have to go with 50 Shades of Slay for show.
I say
Who y'all
Katie wins her first regular season game of fantasy football ever versus Spencer.
Yeah, we'll see about that. I don't
I think
know.
I'll go with Matt on this one.
I don't know. I think them running backs are going to pull through for Spencer for sure. And then I think we got our last matchup. We got Dak to the future, Evan Belk versus Devin's toe funches, Jake Taylor. Who you got, Matt?
I have Jake winning above Evan. I said Jake will start the year strong against an easy matchup.
Yeah, I think Jake takes this one also. I guess we're kind of unanimous. I'm thinking Jake's gonna take himself too.
We shall see. I don't take myself. It's kind of like the Texans. When I see my own team, I downgrade.
Yeah, I think this is gonna be a pretty competitive year. I think that about sums it up for us. Any final words, Matt?
I look forward to beating all of you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking for that 13-0 regular season.
I will enjoy being
Number one
first
seed.
place in my division for 1 week until the season begins.
Yeah, I guess we're all tied right now, right? All tied for first.
Yes.
Oh, we
or
all
are we
won.
tied for last?
Nice. Good job, guys.
Yep. Alrighty. Well, I think that sums it up for us. We went way longer than we wanted. We wanted to go for like the 20 to 30 minute range, and I think we're just under an hour. So,
Painful.
Really good at this.
well, if you're still listening, we should be doing this weekly, and we'll try to be more concise. When we don't have to go over everybody's teams and draft, I think it'll be a lot quicker.
Yeah.
So, anyway, see y'all next week.
Adios.